is where I was born and bred, at the very middle, the heart of England. And I was a boy here, growing up. Birds nesting, exploring, fishing, snaring rabbits, poaching a little, wandering foot-free by the paths only boys use and old men remember, learning how the seasons come and go. Let me show you my country and tempt you to it. First, when winter is quickening into spring, when you can stand on Cotswold and hear the tractors humming all round you for miles. Sunrise to sunset, Saturdays and Sundays too, as the hardy hill farmers get on with the job of growing more corn to the acre than any other nation in the world. It's an up and down country, gentle hills and shut-in valleys, and villages built with the stone from the nearest quarry, so that they seem not built but grown there, out of the soil, like the corn, and like the trees. The rooks do their building early in March, black blobs against the cold and rook-delighting heaven, before the leaves come. The farm boys used to say that when the little leaves on the trees were just as big as mouse's ears, that was the time for courting. So you could take the path through the woods or along the streams which have whispering names like Windrush, Evenlode. Or in the Vale, you could follow the Avon flowing down through Evesham and Pershore. Evesham, where the rich earth grows Brussels sprouts, and Pershore, where the plums come from. In these parts, almost everybody's living comes off the market gardens. And in the pubs, all the talk will be about the price of asparagus and whether we shall get a late frost in the spring. But out of this Avon Vale, as well as the sprouts and the radishes and the heavy mud on the boots and the busy market towns with their buying and selling, sprang the greatest poet that ever lived. He was a child here, when that I was and a little tiny boy, with hey-ho, the wind and the rain. As soon as he was tall enough, he must have leaned on this bridge. He was 50 years old already when he was a boy. He must have swum in the Avon, boated, angled for tawny-finned fishes. And everywhere you go here, there's the feeling that Shakespeare trod where you tread, and explored the little villages round about Stratford. Piping Pebworth, dancing Marston, haunted Hillborough, drunken Bidford. I dare say he watched the blossom come upon the orchards like snow in a laggard spring. So beautiful and oh so brief. But time will take the petals even as the frost spares them. The frost fear haunts us. We keep our fingers crossed and hold our breath. If the drop do freeze in the cup of the bloom, we shall have neither apple nor plum. Mid-May and a softer air, and we can breathe freely again. The hibernating things come out of their winter sleep. Up on the Cotswold Hills, the spring wheat comes like a green mist over the brown. It used to be sheep country here. Sheep and stone walls always go together. So when the wool boom happened in 1450 and the Cotswold men grew rich, the quarrymen and the masons were at hand, skilled craftsmen already. The bare hills blossomed in stone. The village was born. We have a saying on Cotswold that the sheep built the churches. The fine, proud churches like Northleach that lord over little towns. But the Cotswold fleeces turned to gold. Gold bought building stone and craftsmanship and loving labor. During those 2 centuries from 1400 to 1600, in that full springtide of England's history, good men made fortunes and knew how to spend them upon the lovely and the lasting things. At Burford, the center of the Cotswold wool trade, it was, yes sir, 3 bags full. And so the sheep built the little towns with the great churches. Northleach, Painswick, Broadway, Burford, and Chipping Camden, the loveliest of them all. But while the masons were working, the barons were fighting. Red Rose and White Rose, Lancaster and York. At Tewkesbury in 1471, the carnage was terrible at a mill nearby the town. The Red Rose lost its petals that day, and a young prince slain there lies in Tewkesbury Abbey, with the knights and the great barons who made and unmade our kings, with a man who witnessed the signing of Magna Carta, and a soldier who fought at Agincourt upon St. Crispin's Day. Stratford is only 25 miles from Tewkesbury, a day's ride on a good horse for the young poet who used to stroll perhaps in an Elizabethan garden, dreaming of kings and queens and the big wars and the banners flying, to fly for him too one day. The people he knew when he lived at Stratford were the same people we meet today, the countrymen whose homes are in the heart of England. You meet them gathered together at the Three Counties show. The same people. This is the day in high summer when the men who grow things take time off from the hoeing and the harrowing and the haymaking, and the feeding and the mucking and the milking, and come together to look with pride at the things they've grown. They come from the country over the Malvern Hills, the country of hops and Herefords, where the great beasts with the fierce white faces and the amiable eyes are almost the same color as the rich red Herefordshire soil. From the Severn Vale they come, and the flatlands of Warwickshire, and from that huge market garden through which Shakespeare's Avon flows, where the horses still plod between the vegetable rows, beautiful clod-hopping cart horses. And the Cotswold men come down off the hills, the growers of wheat and barley, whose sons, who knows, may be growers of sheep again as their forefathers were. Farmers who plant their crops by the 40 acres and buy their seed by the 100-weight sack reckon that flowers are a woman's business. Pretty enough, but chicken feed to them. The missus's job, like feeding the hens or seeing to the bees. The jumping's more in their line, they say. There goes Pat Smythe. But there's business to be done as well as fun to be had at the show. There are the new machines, the latest combines, the grain conveyor, the hay baler. The machines that make some jobs quicker and some jobs easier and help you to beat the weather in dabbly seasons, but never alter the fundamentals of farming because they don't change. You can milk by machine, but the machines can't make cows or manufacture milk. You've got to breed the cows and feed the cows. And maybe you've got to get back from the show in time to bring them in for milking, or to finish the last of the hay before the weather breaks. But the seasons are always racing you in the country, and as soon as the hay's in, it'll be time to begin harvest. Long hours of sun color up the corn, and even in the drowsy murmur of the dog days, there's an urgent undertone telling of winter round the corner. Everywhere a note of hurry. Almost everywhere. High summer and gardens gay with flowers in Cheltenham, the spacious, gracious town at the foot of Cotswold. Spa, where the fastidious Georgians elegantly sip the waters, where their grandsons, our grandfathers, and the retired colonels from Poona and Delhi and Allahabad watched W.G. Grace stride out to the wicket, and Jessup hit a six that broke the clock in the pavilion on the college ground. The home ground of Charles Barnet and Old Dipper, and Wally Hammond of Gloucestershire in England. Of Gloucestershire in England, and of some village green where they began batting on the rough country wicket against the bumpers and the shooters and the sneaks, and learned by precept and example not to have a swipe at the off ball swinging away. This is the season when the village team turns up 3 or 4 men short. And if we say plum picking, everybody understands. Yellow egg plum, early prolific. Purple Pershaw, plump Victoria, Belle de Vine. This is the lucky harvest for which we cross our fingers when there's frost in the air in May. But the old farmers say, don't look up into the trees for your fortune, lad. This is where your real living comes from, out of the ground. When I was a boy, there were no such things as combine harvesters, eating up the cornfields at the rate of 20 acres a day. So modern, and yet somehow like prehistoric monsters. Dragons and dinosaurs. The stooks used to stand in the fields then, and here and there you'll see them still, where farmers harvest in the old, beautiful fashion. But so long as the stooks stand, they are hostages to fortune. The combine takes no chances. It reaps and it keeps. This is the season of storing and hoarding, and we are like sedulous squirrels that hurry to harvest the acorns when the hips and haws begin to redden the hedge. And thou shalt keep the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. As labor is matched to the seasons, so is our fun. When the harvest's gathered, it's time for the fair. In Evesham, in Gloucester, in Tewkesbury, and in Shakespeare's Stratford. The 12th of October, Stratford Mop. Same date every year. Years and years ago, it looked like this when I saw it for the first time through a child's eyes. And all at once, when it's over, all at once, there's a hush of autumn. So the roundabout of the seasons comes full circle again. And back into the heart of England fall the leaves that sprang out of it. But autumn isn't an ending, and the roundabout doesn't stop, nor the heart cease beating. For this is an endless story. And when we think we've come to the finish, it's simply beginning again.